Hello, dear listener. Today, I want to share with you a story about growth, humility, and the wisdom that comes from truly connecting with others. It's called A Lesson Above the Clouds. So settle in, get comfortable, and let me take you on this journey. Marcus graduated from a top university with his head held high. When he received the acceptance letter for the management trainee program at Skyline Airways, he felt his life was destined for greatness. Skyline was one of Asia's largest airlines, and getting in meant he was surely one of the company's future pillars. On his first day, Marcus strutted into the office in a crisp suit. Sarah from Human Resources introduced him to his mentor, Robert Williams, an operations director who had been with the company for 20 years. Robert was a gentleman with a warm smile, but Marcus thought to himself, an old-school manager probably won't understand our generation's thinking. During his first week of training, Marcus was assigned to the customer service department. At a team meeting, the customer service manager proposed improving the complaint handling process. Marcus immediately interrupted her. "That approach is too outdated," he said. "The case studies I learned in university show we should use data analytics to predict customer complaints, not just passively handle them." The manager froze, and the other colleagues fell silent. After the meeting ended, the atmosphere was noticeably awkward. In his second week, Marcus rotated to operations. During a discussion about flight scheduling, he argued with a senior dispatcher again. "Your shift arrangement completely violates efficiency maximization principles," Marcus pointed at the computer screen. "I can prove my method saves at least 15% in costs." The old dispatcher shook his head without saying much and continued with his work. Marcus thought he had won the argument and felt secretly pleased with himself. The third week saw similar situations in finance and marketing. Marcus always rushed to prove his ideas, always pointed out others' mistakes, always needed to have the upper hand in discussions. He felt this was the only way to demonstrate his value and show the company his capabilities. A month later, Robert invited Marcus to his office for tea. Through the window, they could see planes taking off and landing on the runway, the sunset painting the sky golden. "Marcus, you've worked hard this past month," Robert said as he poured 2 cups of tea. "I've heard you've been quite active in all departments, proposing many ideas." Marcus straightened his back. "Yes, Robert. I feel there are many areas in the company that could be improved. I hope to contribute my strengths." Robert smiled and nodded, then asked a seemingly unrelated question. "Do you know why I've been able to work at this company for 20 years?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Because you're exceptionally capable?" "Not entirely," Robert replied, gazing out the window. 20 years ago, I was just like you, fresh out of university, full of passion. Back then, I also thought I knew everything. Whenever I saw something unreasonable, I had to point it out, argue about it, prove I was right." Marcus was surprised. He hadn't expected Robert to have gone through the same experience. "Once," Robert continued, "I argued with a senior pilot about flight procedures. I cited theories and evidence to prove his approach wasn't perfect enough. Do you know what happened?" "You won?" Marcus asked. Robert shook his head. "On the surface, he stopped arguing back, so I thought I won. But actually, I lost much more. He developed resentment toward me and never wanted to share his 20 years of flying experience again. Other colleagues who witnessed this also started distancing themselves from me. I won the argument, Marcus, but I lost the cooperation." Marcus fell silent. Robert's words made him think about his experiences over the past month. Indeed, after each argument, colleagues had grown colder toward him. "Later, my mentor told me something important," Robert said, his voice becoming gentle. "You can never truly win an argument. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you still lose. Because even if you're logically superior, the other person won't genuinely accept you. Instead, they'll feel their self-esteem has been attacked. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. Marcus, think about it, Robert continued. When you argued with the customer service manager, did you consider that she's been handling customer complaints for 10 years? Does her experience have value? When you pointed out her methods were outdated, how do you think she felt? This question stunned Marcus. He had never thought from the other person's perspective. Put yourself in their shoes, Robert said. If someone told you in front of everyone that your ideas were naive, that you didn't understand practical matters, how would you feel? Marcus answered honestly, I'd feel very uncomfortable. I'd feel they didn't respect me. Exactly. Everyone's the same, Robert said with a smile. People have self-esteem and want to be recognized and respected. When you criticize others' ideas, you're actually attacking their dignity. Even if you're right, they'll find it hard to accept. Robert stood up and walked to the window. Look at those planes outside. Each one needs pilots, flight attendants, ground crew, maintenance staff, and dispatchers working together. If they argued about who's more important or whose method is better, could the plane still take off? No, Marcus admitted. Cooperation is key, Robert said, turning around. So how do you gain others' cooperation? First, you need to sincerely acknowledge and appreciate their work. The customer service manager handling complaints for 10 years, that alone deserves respect. You could start by affirming her contributions, then gently offer suggestions, rather than directly dismissing her methods. Marcus began to understand. So I should first acknowledge others' efforts and value? Yes, and it must be genuine, not false flattery, Robert emphasized. Second, when you want to propose new ideas, don't impose them on others. Guide them to discover the value themselves. You can ask questions, let them participate in thinking, make them feel the idea has their contribution too. For example, Marcus asked. For instance, when discussing with the dispatcher, you could say, "You've been in this position for so many years, you must have faced many scheduling challenges. I recently came across some data. I'm not sure if it could help make your work easier. Could I ask you whether this data would be practical in actual operations? See, isn't that much better than directly saying your method is wrong?" Marcus had an epiphany. This way, he'll feel I'm helping him, not criticizing him. Exactly, Robert's eyes lit up. Also, you need to genuinely understand others' thoughts and needs. Everyone wants to be understood, wants their perspective valued. When you're willing to listen and think from their position, they'll naturally open up to you. So I should listen more and speak less? Marcus asked. Not just speak less, say what they want to hear, Robert explained. For example, the customer service manager cares most about customer satisfaction, so you discuss from the angle of improving satisfaction. The dispatcher cares about flight punctuality and crew fatigue, so you share your ideas from that perspective. When you speak to their hearts, they'll truly listen. Marcus understood. I see. I was always approaching from my own perspective, wanting to prove myself, but ignoring what others actually need. Robert returned to his seat and picked up his teacup. Marcus, do you know, everyone has a deepest desire to feel important, to feel their value is recognized. When you can make people feel their importance, they'll naturally want to cooperate with you and listen to your ideas. What if I discover I'm actually wrong? Marcus asked. Then admit it sincerely, Robert said without hesitation. No one is perfect. Admitting mistakes isn't weakness, it's strength. When you're brave enough to acknowledge errors, people respect you more because they see your honesty and humility. Outside the window, the sky had darkened and the runway lights came on, twinkling like stars. Marcus took a deep breath. Robert, thank you. I've been so arrogant this past month. I thought winning arguments would prove my value, but I didn't realize it actually cost me the most important thing, my colleagues' trust and cooperation. Robert smiled and patted Marcus's shoulder, realizing this means you've already grown. Remember, in the workplace, what matters most isn't proving you're smarter than others, but making everyone willing to work with you to create better results together. I understand, Marcus said sincerely. Starting tomorrow, I'll change. I believe you, Robert said warmly. You're smart and passionate. You just need to learn the right way to express it. When you learn to respect others, understand others, and make others feel important, you'll discover you can achieve far more than you do now. In the days that followed, Marcus truly changed. He began proactively learning about each department colleague's work and genuinely appreciating their expertise. When he had ideas, he no longer rushed to criticize the status quo, but gently offered suggestions and invited others to discuss. When others spoke, he listened attentively and tried to understand issues from their perspective. Gradually, his colleagues' attitudes toward him changed. The customer service manager started seeking him out to discuss improvement plans. The old dispatcher was willing to share years of experience, and colleagues from other departments were happy to cooperate with him. Marcus discovered that when he stopped trying to win, he actually gained much more. 6 months later, at the trainee evaluation meeting, Robert told Human Resources, Marcus is rare talent. He's not only capable, but more importantly, he understands how to cooperate with people and how to help teams unleash their greatest potential. That evening, Marcus looked at the night sky through his window, his heart full of gratitude. He knew that what Robert taught him wasn't just work skills, but the wisdom of being human. So, dear listener, what does this story teach us? True success isn't about proving we're better than others. It's about building genuine relationships and gaining others' trust and cooperation. In human interactions, arguments rarely have real winners. Even if you're logically superior, you might lose the other person's respect and goodwill. But when we're willing to put ourselves in others' shoes, think from their perspective, genuinely appreciate their value, and make them feel important, that's when we build real connections. Remember this: everyone craves recognition, understanding, and respect. When you give people these things, they'll naturally want to cooperate with you and accept your ideas. This isn't manipulation, it's meeting the most basic human needs. True wisdom is knowing how to respect others and letting everyone feel valued in cooperation. When you achieve this, success will naturally follow. Good night, dear listener. May you remember, even in your dreams, the greatest power comes from genuine kindness. Sleep well.